Welcome to the Grand Finals, best of 7 for the win, number 30, spawning in the southern position on Battle Base Beta. Of course, all maps are available for these guys to play. Our Psy and Soviet, this is Fordell. Going Crane first, a cheeky build here, but his opponent, the Empire in the top right, representing teammates, this is Jeromo. If he opens Trip Refinery, then we could have an interesting game, but he is not going to be opening up Triple Refinery. And of course, with this being the Grand Finals, if you missed the announcement, if you missed the kind of stuff that happened, Dimon did actually earn a spot in the Grand Finals, but he had to leave, and so we seeded Jeromo into that spot, and then Fordell is the guy who came up through the loser's bracket. So basically, the loser's bracket finals happened one round earlier than they otherwise would have, and then that player basically got into the grand final. So the loser's bracket final was Fordell versus Tony, and I'm sure you can figure out how that went, but they were actually pretty good games, so you can check them out if you like. Jeromo going to be going for the high ground mecha bait, not going to be, like planting it in the middle of these two. Now, of course, with Soviets, you do have to be careful of those terror drones, which is why, never mind. Yeah, I mean, you don't really have to worry about terror drones if your opponent isn't actually going to be building any. If he is indeed going to be just going for the airfield. Okay, so I guess he's not actually going to be crushing his MCV. I was like, is he really going 3 refinery and then just going to crush his MCV? No, he is! I don't know why he sold the walls off then. Unless he's going to, like, drop a barracks. And then he's going to run units through there? I don't know. I'm actually kind of confused about that wall cell, because I thought it was for the MCV to drive through, but maybe he just needed the cash. I mean, he's got 3750 coming back, and oh, it's going to be double airfield. That's why. Of course, the double airfield build is actually Jeromo is just like, well, I guess I just take both of your oil derricks and go for a later third refinery, later in comparison to how early's Fordell's was. And I think I have never seen this build, so I have no idea what is supposed to happen. Tesla coil is a nice touch, though. That's actually a nice defensive move there. What is even, like, the point? I guess you just build MiGs, and then you hope that your MiGs can deal with the Tengus, and your Twin Blades wreck everything else, so I guess that's the plan, is just build, like, 4 to 6 MiGs and infinite Twin Blades, and then just win. However, this is going to be a weird way to start off the Grand Finals. Of course, if Jeromo isn't ready for this, I guess Jeromo actually isn't ready for this, is he? He just, like, pumped out a whole bunch of infantry early on, and he was like, this is battle-based beta, I'm going to need infantry, right? Apparently not. And, of course, this is, the best build to use this against is Empire, who opens up with a lot of infantry, who dumps a lot of cash directly into infantry. If you're against Soviets or allies, probably some of those infantry, if they're dumping a lot into infantry, they're going to be Javelin or Flak Troopers. But this is actually, I guess, perfect against an Empire player. There's the MCV cell for Jeromo, so he's going to have that little cash influx as well. But, of course, he doesn't have the Crusher Crane. He can't reconstruct things if he needs to. And actually, I mean, if he drops down, if Fordell drops a reactor next to that refinery, then he could even rebuild the refinery if he needs to. He would still have the build radius. But again, unless you have a Tengu Cloud, you're going to have a hard time really dealing with a serious amount of Twin Blades. And Strikers are a nice choice, but as long as the Micro is good enough, then the Twin Blades will trade all right versus the Strikers. If you just, like, A-move into the Strikers, then the Strikers are probably going to win. You'd have to have, like, crazy Twin Blade numbers. But as long as you're careful about how you engage, then the Strikers won't actually be able to do very much. And, of course, Strikers trying to go on the offensive, trying to do some, like, harassment over here, can just get shut down by the MiGs so easily. So this build actually going to be working out pretty well for Fordell. It helps a lot, again, that it was the later Mecha Bay by Jeromo. I mean, he moved his MCV to high ground before he even constructed the Mecha Bay. He went pretty quickly into Tier 2. He didn't go, like, infinite Tengu spam or anything like that off of 2 refineries, or into like MCV cell on 2 refineries and Tengu spam. So there's a lot of builds that potentially could have shut this down, but what Jeromo did just isn't very good against what Fordell did. I don't know that it's a build order win, but it's not the most optimal build order to what Fordell did. Infantry pushing in could present a problem. I guess not so much as long as Fordell has like hammer tanks that can just crush stuff. That's going to make it a lot harder for Jeromo to actually push in and do some damage. Twin Blades just shutting down all of the harvesters, and that is actually just a nice way to play out the beginning of the game. If you're able to do a lot of economic damage, then these Twin Blades will become worth it. And I don't know that they're necessarily worth it just yet, but because of that Crusher Crane, because Fordell can transition off of this and play out a pretty long game off of 3 refineries, you can go quite a while without taking that 4th refinery. And even with a Sputnik, he could decide to take a 4th refinery if he really wants to. So, yeah. This is quite an interesting build. Again, I kind of feel like he was banking on Jeromo doing something similar to what Jeromo has done, because it is battle-based beta. I guess he was maybe expecting Jeromo to commit a bit into infantry. 2 MiGs do go down, and that's where these strikers do become dangerous, is when you've got a nice group of them and they all get free shots off like that. Because that was just a lot of DPS all hitting at once. Jeromo does need to deal with hammer tanks, though. So if he's able to get his strikers into a good position, i.e. if he's able to clean up the MiGs or at least push them away, then he should not have a huge amount of trouble dealing with this army. However, if he just pushes in right here, the transform cooldown is not going to be active. He is going to be potentially losing some of these striker VXs. He does clean up the bullfrogs, but there's more bullfrogs on the reinforcement path. The Tengus target down the MiGs. They target down the Twin Blades as well, shredding absolutely everything in the sky. And goodbye, as the last couple of strikers do end up going down. Fordell has hold. The ground forces were not really cleaned up, and with the bullfrogs on the reinforcement path, Jeromo just couldn't do anything about saving his air units. And you have to kill that ground army, or else you simply die. Jeromo didn't have the units to not... He had to contend that ground army somehow. He put all of his eggs, basically, into the basket of aircraft, and then bullfrogs came in at the last moment there and just cleaned everything up. Of course, that could have been handled a little bit differently, but in those moments, in those snap decisions, who is going to make the right call? Basically, no one. And, well played by Fordell. Very weird, but well played indeed. Let's jump into game number 2. And game 2 takes us to Temple Prime, where spawning on the western side, our yellow Empire player, representing teammates in down 0-1 in this best of 7, this is Jeromo. And on the right side, our purple, also Empire, but he is playing random for this best of 7. He's up 1-0. This is Fordell. Fordell bringing out the unusual builds, and it worked out pretty well in game number 1. Is he going to be cranking out something unusual this time? I guess he could go like double Mecha Bay, Tengu spam, MCV cell. I forget who did that. Someone did that in the Christmas tournament. I don't actually remember if it worked out or not. So it is going to be an EVE, but of course Jeromo didn't know it was going to be an EVE coming into this game, so he probably opened it up in a more... Well, he did open it up pretty standard. I guess maybe he just went quad dojo and he's just doing that infantry pump thing. Trying to get out double engineer, trying to secure both of the oil derricks for the next couple of minutes of this game. Ooh, Fordell pausing for a moment there and will take the extra shots. Is not going to be able to actually secure that oil derrick and will be pushed away, allowing Jeromo to most likely secure the oil derrick. One more shot. Can he actually get it before it escapes out onto the water? It looks like the answer thus far is no. Double power plant, so yeah, this doesn't seem like it's going to be anything too crazy. I mean, maybe if he would have gone, like, double naval yard tech up to tier 2 and spam tsunamis. That's the build he should have done. I'm assuming that's not a real build. I don't think that's a real build. That probably shouldn't be a real build if it is a real build. I don't know that that would actually... I don't know if that's, like, economically viable. I mean, it would be for a little while just because of the MCV cell, but after, like, the first, you know, like, 3 tsunami tanks, you'd probably just not... You wouldn't have enough cash. What if you got double oil derricks? Maybe it would work if you got, like, double oil derricks. Then there would be a little bit of inefficiency, but not a lot. At any rate, Tengu's coming in for the harass for Fordell. He is going to be able to, you know, shut down one harvester, kind of force it away from mining, transforms and runs away with one of his Tengus. However, one of his other Tengus does end up going down. Doesn't quite get the honorable discharge splash damage off, which is maybe a little bit unfortunate for Fordell. I have to try to remember that Jeromo is not the purple guy in this game. He is actually going to be, I'm guessing, trying to go for that honorable discharge splash. Doesn't actually do anything. It's always a bit of a random chance as far as when units are in the game. Sometimes they seem to maintain some of the momentum that they previously had. Like, if they're on the move, they'll usually continue that path. But sometimes when they're standing still, they'll either fall, like, straight down or they'll fall off to the side. And, well, Fordell is moving out with his MCV. So, we're going to see exactly what he has planned. It could be some sort of weird MCV cell into using the engineer for something. That's something that some players have done in a very suicidal way, but Jeromo does need more Tengus. That's like the one thing that can be always said is like, as long as you have more Tengus than the other guy, you're probably going to be okay. The advantage that Jeromo has is that he can get repairs on his Tengus and help him deal with the numbers of his opponent that way. Harvester is going to be getting surrounded, and if Jeromo ends up getting his mining disrupted for too long, then it could be a situation where he just doesn't have the production to keep up with Fordell, even though his units get to the fight a fair bit faster. Fordell is going to be banking a couple of Tengus back home and actually turns his MCV around. Is he just leaving? He drove all the way across the map. He, like, tried to put on this weird attack, and now he's just going to be backing out, piecing out, and just leaving. That's definitely a weird attack there, but if he cleans up the oil derricks, then hey, he's getting that little bit of value for his units. I guess the one in the north, not worth cleaning up by Fordell. He's like, no, I'm deciding not to clean that one up in the north. Unless he's going to MCV cell up there and capture it. That'd be something. He deploys his MCV. What is he going to build here? I mean, he could build a Rax. That would be pretty useful, but this is just weird. I mean, his MCV could have deployed, you know, maybe a little bit closer or even on the other side. And, but no. He actually is just going to be moving his MCV back in. I have no idea what Fordell's plan is. Jeromo has been able to tech up to Tier 2. Of course, unfortunately, like Allies or Soviets, he doesn't have, like, cryocopters or Tengus that he could bring on out to help him deal with the MCV. But this striker can actually just turn right around and start doing damage to that MCV. I'm not sure if he is getting pushed back by the Tengus, so he's a little bit worried about Fordell's Tengu numbers. And Jeromo is going to be losing that oil derrick, so that's a little bit annoying for him. Fordell continuing to push Tengus. I think he probably just queued up like infinite Tengus on that Mecha Bay. He just shift-clicked forever to get the amount of Tengus that he wanted. And the MCV will escape, at least for now. After, you know, like turning around 5 or 6 times and trying to decide where he wants to park this thing, he's finally going to be heading back home. He's going to be heading back to his side of the map where he belongs. And Jeromo, again, transitioning into that Tier 2, not going for a third refinery, which can be one of those dangerous things if you end up going for a third refinery in an EVE. That extra cash that you spent can really put you too far behind to be able to keep up on the army front. In this case, point defense drones will help Fordell just shred the Tengus of his opponent, but if he's fighting against tsunami tanks or against units with repair, then Fordell is going to have a far more difficult time breaking Jeromo. And, well, no, Fordell packs up his MCV again, and now is going to be moving it out to the water. This guy, don't ever ask what restaurant Fordell wants to go to, because he'll spend 38 minutes trying to figure out what restaurant he wants to go to, and then he's just going to change his mind every single time. That's what I'm interpreting from this MCV. That's the conclusion that I am drawing. Fordell going to be splitting off his Tengus up into the north, and he's going to be like, hey, There's no expansion up there. Hey, there's no expansion in the middle. And he may actually end up scouting down south as well. We'll have to see. For now, he's just going to be checking out those areas, just making sure he has a good handle on what his opponent is doing. Or maybe he was hoping to catch out some strikers, catch them over the water where they're out of position and can't transform on down. And Jeromo, again, what is he actually going to be doing to deal with this? For now, he's just sort of pumping Tengus, Strikers, and Tsunamis, that standard 3-piece unit composition that Empire players around the world love. And of course, mixing in infantry is something that can be very powerful if controlled correctly, but sometimes against a player that's going mass Tengu, then they just transform, kill all your infantry, and you just wasted a bunch of money if you're not careful about how you engage. Well, I guess that's one way to stop harassment, is use literally your entire army. The tech up has happened, but Fordell has also taken that third refinery, so he may come to a point where he's just able to outproduce his opponent. And point defense drones have worn off. Now, this Tengu group from Jeromo will probably still be cleaned up if it comes to a straight-up fight, but they can escape if they want to. They don't have to sit here and fight if they don't want to. Jeromo instead just going to be looking at the center or close to the center of the map instead of pulling away the Tengus, but the appropriate amount of Tengus have been pulled off by Fordell. He is going to be just, well, trying to escape with as many of those Tengus as he can. He was rerouting some of the Tengus to join back up with his army, while the other Tengus did give chase to Jeromo's forces. That's just a striker moving out across the map. I wonder if Jeromo will actually ever use this MCV for the rest of this game. He just hasn't done all that much with it. He could go ahead and try to take a third expansion. It's going to be difficult to really hold a third expansion if he wants to put on pressure at the same time, just because splitting your army will, of course, make it significantly weaker for the attacking front. But Fordell doesn't have a super scary army. He does have just enough. And with the Strikers actually focusing down the Striker of Fordell, then Jeromo should have free reign over the majority of these units. Point defense drone's going to be adding that extra bit of armor and that extra bit of survivability to these units, but Jeromo's reinforcements are not going to be soon enough. They are not going to be able to contend with the reinforcements coming in for Fordell. However, on the ground, that's where Jeromo is starting to win the battle. Can he continue to hold off and to push Fordell back, though? If he's able to strike down this expansion, then he can even up the economic footing, but again, when you're engaging against an opponent who has repairs, who has production right there on the front line, you have to be sure that you're going to win this fight. And the advantage that Jeromo had was in the Strikers. All of his other numbers were, in total, fewer than his opponent. He had more Tengus right at the start, but once the reinforcements came in for Fordell, then the Tengu numbers swung back into the favor of Fordell. And the Strikers didn't actually do that much. They really needed to kill off more of the Tsunami tanks. They needed to clean up more of the forces, but they simply weren't able to. Fordell has held off the attack. He lost his third refinery, though, which is a bit unfortunate for him. But he's cleaned up a lot of the army of Jeromo while maintaining still his huge Tengu lead. And that's going to be the advantage that Fordell has. Tsunami tanks starting to be repopulated by Fordell. Again, he doesn't have a lot of Tsunami tanks or Strikers, at least in comparison to Jeromo, but he does have that Tengu cloud. And that is the advantage that he's had pretty much this entire game. Tsunami tank going to be heading back in, trying to be the hero Tsunami tank. Won't quite be able to be that hero. Again, Tsunami tanks from Fordell just going to be pushing that back. Tengus go for the big transform. Point defense drones have been added as well. And now he's going to be moving in for the assault. Jeromo's going to need to buy time. He maybe need to just crush a lot of this army with his units. If he had a healthy number of Tsunami tanks, then he could at least section off the Tsunami tanks of his opponent, try to go for the crush, and try to, divide and conquer. But he doesn't really have that many Tsunami tanks. That's the problem for Jeromo. And Emperor's Rage just going to be making this even harder, as his one Tsunami tank on the other side of the map that tried to be a hero, that was trying to just do what he could, just can't do anything. Jeromo sells his MCV. It's a little bit too late. A day late and $1 short as he transforms yet another striker, but there's enough Tengus to be able to transform one or two to deal with the aircraft of Jeromo, and Fordell still has an impressive army on the ground. The numbers absolutely in the favor of Fordell there. A nice EVE that he plays out against Jeromo, and now with an 0-2 score, Jeromo is looking to be in a dangerous position. Of course, this is a best of 7, so he's not at match point just yet, but things are getting dicey. And certainly, Fordell wants to take a quick and swift victory. He wants to be a 2-time For The Win champion, and he wants to claim a back-to-back victory from For The Win number 29 and For The Win number 30. Actually, come to think of it, I feel like Fordell has won other For The Wins, but I just don't have them in mind right now. So that will do it for this game. Let's jump into game number 3. And game number 3 takes us to Cabana Republic with our orange Soviet player on the left side. He is a random representative in the grand finals of For The Win number 30. This is Fordell. I want him to do the double airfield build again. But on the right side, the Empire Hope, currently down 0-2. He needs your cheers from teammates. This is Jeromo. Now, thus far, he's not going for the fast triple refinery, which, some players like to do. Not necessarily a lot, but I feel like Cabana Republic, we see the fast triple ref more often than we see it on other maps. And of course, double refineries at the same time. Oh, wait a second. If I zoom in a little bit, then it's like, a little bit more. Double refineries all the way across the screen. That's what's, I need to not scroll. That's what's going on right now. Double refinery all the way across the screen. I think it's like 2011, right? Those references are still relevant. Good. I'm glad that the double rainbow thing is still on people's radar. At any rate, Jeromo should be able to grab both of these oil derricks. Of course, when you do the crane into double refinery, into apparently super reactor and MCV move, your barracks are a little bit delayed. You just don't have time to get out the barracks and actually, capture oil derricks. So it's going to be free oil derricks captures. And this puts a bit of a clock on Jeromo because potentially he has some opportunities to do some damage. This may include... Is he actually going fast tier 2? I guess maybe if he went strikers, then... Nope. Is that a flat cannon? No, it's going to be a Tesla coil coming up. So yeah, if he went fast tier 2 into strikers, he might be able to put on some damage. Of course, the problem is harassing Soviet harvesters just takes so long. Maybe he'd be able to focus down the refineries. Maybe if he makes like some tank busters. Jeromo is going to be going for some tank busters, mixing them in, and might be able to shut down this refinery. There's going to be a Tesla coil coming up, which will pretty much deny a lot of that damage output. With this Tesla coil placement, there might be a slot like just right at the edge of the Tesla coil range to be able to attack this refinery with the tank busters. Or, I'm not actually sure if the tank busters can be out of range. Tesla coil is now going to be finished up, and flak cannon is going to be finishing up relatively soon as well. Is there a second flak cannon on the way? The answer for now is no. Now, there are strikers out on the map, but will Jeromo actually be able to do anything with them? That's kind of the question. Tesla coil is getting ready to fire up and cleans up whatever that was. It was hidden behind a tree. I'm not 100% sure. But the striker is starting to get a bit of work done. Of course, one striker... Oh, no, they're actually just force firing in front of the building so that they can try to take down the units as soon as they come out. Which, as it turns out, that's not a very good strategy. As it turns out, it doesn't work very well. Maybe he messed up the focus fire a little bit and just wasn't quite able to get the positioning quite right. Now, Tesla coil is, of course, going to be providing some basic defense against some of the infantry, not all of them. And with the tank busters mixed in here, no! The striker goes down anyways, which means whatever the next couple of units coming out of here are, they might be able to deal with these tank busters, potentially. Third refinery is already up, and of course, that's something we need to keep in mind for Fordell when we're thinking about his situation, because he's always going to have that nice, well, not always, but he's gonna, for the next minute or so, have that nice economic advantage. And is that actually going to be a third refinery? Yes, it is a third refinery being split off by Fordell. He's going to be sending it up north, going to be able to take that third refinery and even up the economic footing. Of course, with the 2 oil derricks, he'll be a bit ahead. Sniping the refinery, or excuse me, sniping the war factory was a really nice move. Uh-oh. It was a really nice move, but is this going to be a Tesla coil push? Oh, my. Oh, my. He actually got up to the 4 refineries as well. Unfortunately, the base defense won't be able to finish, and with tank busters able to, of course, jump inside of that building and put out some constant DPS on this structure, Jeromo is going to be in a good position to clean up that refinery. So he's actually dropping a Rax immediately right here. That will give him a nice reinforcement point to start assaulting this base, but MCV moves are not something that we see every day out of Soviet players, and of course you don't see Soviet players every day, so even more so, just these sort of pushes don't happen all that often. Bear on the right side, it's not actually anything of interest, and is that actually... No, it's a Tesla coil and a flak cannon instead of 2 Tesla coils, which would have been a pretty crazy amount of money. I mean, you gotta have $3 grand just waiting around. The engineer gets sniped, and actually, the cash back on the Tengu and the Flak Trooper is pretty nice as well. But that engineer snipe was quite costly. And Jeromo's just like, I'm not even going to bother, but he... Ooh, that's like canceling your hatch before the cannons finish in StarCraft. I mean, that Tesla coil just got canceled. Nice refund there, and forcing both of the refineries to be sold off is a pretty big deal. Jeromo's income is extremely lax in this game, and with three refinery income, Fordell is going to be in an all-right position. He doesn't have to worry, about retaking refineries or expanding into his opponent's main base. Nothing like that. In fact, Jeromo having to drop the extra cash on top of getting up the nanotech mainframe, which he may be researching Tier 3 right now. Wave Force Artillery would help him clean up those base defenses. It would help him push away this MCV, but of course that's a huge amount of cost that he has to dump into trying to just survive, let alone actually, build up his economy. As this Tsunami tank, I guess he's just trying to body block a little bit here, mess with the pathing of these units, and be annoying. This barracks will eventually end up going down. The Tengu could go ahead and focus down. Well, he focuses down the engineer, but he could go ahead and focus down the bears so these tank busters can actually get back to work and do their job. Build radius at... Well, it allows just enough position here for this Tesla coil to be established. It is going to be absorbing some of the damage of those tank busters, and also is going to be sort of threatening the position of that Wave Force Artillery. Of course, artillery and tank busters going to be putting out a huge amount of hurt onto this MCV. The only kind of saving grace for Fordell is that if he loses his MCV, he's still got the crane, he's still got the 3 refinery economy to kind of power off of the back of this. And of course, with Jeromo being low economically, that just makes the situation even better. Is that 2 engineers? No, it's an engineer and a conscript along with that bear. And now with the oil derricks being taken away, Jeromo can't depend on that steady but slow stream of credits coming in from them. Jeromo, he's got the tech advantage. That is his piece of the puzzle. Even the airfield getting thrown down, Twin Blades will make very quick work of those Wave Force Artillery if they are not defended. And with limited anti-air, in fact, it might be literally 0 anti-air, strikers are now being produced by Jeromo. He's going to be starting to fill back out that side of his unit composition so he doesn't have that gaping hole. But if he's not able to protect these Wave Force Artilleries, he's going to have a more difficult time breaking any of the positions, whether it's up here, where the Tesla coil is defending, or the main base of Fordell. Jeromo, even taking that bit of harvester damage. It's not a huge deal because he's got the Mecha Bay right there, but that lost mining time is almost worth it. I mean, if you lose, 3 trips? If it delays those 3 trips, then that terror drone has paid for itself. And, I mean, each trip is 10 seconds, I believe. It's around, each, cycle is 10 seconds. So as long as that harvester is off the line for, 30 seconds, then that terror drone is worth it. I don't know if the harvester was actually off the line for 30 seconds, but That's the point I was trying to make. At any rate, Twin Blade's going to be coming in. They're going to try to focus down the strikers, and they will force them to take off rather than go down, which means they can still be useful. This guy potentially could have taken a bit more damage, but with 4 Twin Blades here ready to rock and roll, this army just has no real answer with them. If you're going to transform your only anti-air option, then of course the Twin Blades can have free reign to destroy absolutely everything else. And Jeromo's now, once again, has that problem where he just doesn't have an answer to what Fordell is bringing. If Fordell builds like 1 MiG, then he can go ahead and just annihilate the Chopper VXs and the Terror Drone on top of that. Oh, if he gets the Infect on the Defender Core, that will be even more annoying. The Defender Core should have enough time to get back to the Mecha Bay for repairs, but nope, never mind. He's just not even going to go for the Infect. He's just going to lock down that Tengu and try to keep it in position. Twin Blades moving out to the south side of the map. Going to be going for a bit of a poke-in, maybe a bit of a harass. Going to be consisting of a Bullfrog support squad as well. That one Harvester just chilling over there, hanging out, not really doing all that much. But he is going to be representing himself on the minimap. As the Tengus do come in, the Strikers as well, going to be able to push away those Twin Blades. And of course, without Bullfrog support, those Tengus will absolutely wreck this attacking force. Jeromo still a bit on the back foot, but he's carved himself out a stable position. Again, with that tech advantage, he doesn't have to worry about teching back up or anything like that, but it means if his Mecha Bay is taken out, he's invested a huge amount into it. For now, the economic advantage goes slightly into the favor of Fordell, which also means that with his with the fact that he was on that economy for a longer amount of time, and well, the fact that he didn't have his main base mining disrupted quite as much as Jeromo, he's got a much healthier economy. Of course, the fortunate thing for Jeromo is that he doesn't have to move across the map and kill Fordell right this moment. Whoa, that's actually maybe a bigger problem than getting your Harvester locked down by the Terror Drones, because, yeah, the Harvester getting locked down is a big deal, but that low power mode doubling all of the production times when you already don't have a very strong army. Although, what can help strengthen the army is if you actually just are able to carve away at your opponent's units so easily like that. Fordell has reconstructed his MCV, potentially with that northern kind of route that he's taken. He's going to be looking to establish those 2 expansions in the north, taking himself that 4th and 5th refinery. As his Bullfrogs are on the retreat, they're going to be able to make it home safely unless they drive a little bit too close to that building. They might take a bit of damage. Tengu's going to be on the move. Strikers will be in support following up. And Jeromo needs to do some damage. He needs to do at least a bit of damage. He doesn't necessarily have to do, like, game-winning damage, but whatever engagement happens next, he needs to be, like, 100% sure that he's going to win it. He can't let Flak Troopers just totally destroy him, although this Engineer, that would have been a very expensive load of Twin Blade units to go down. MCV being targeted. Jeromo going to be forcing this MCV to potentially be sold off, as it does get sold off, and the Engineer is eliminated. A nice move there by Jeromo. I mean, that's a lot of money invested into that MCV for, 1,300 credits. He basically got 1/4 the cost of that MCV back. But the Strikers are playing defense. With this many Twin Blades, they might be able to just take out the Strikers in like 2 volleys. They don't even have to, as the Strikers do transform. And now that the Tengus are on the wrong side of the map, these Twin Blades have a bit of free reign. Now the Bullfrogs are here on the reinforcement path, but they will not be here just quite in time. They might be arriving. Actually, no, 2 of them will be arriving in time. They are going to be trying to go for the Strikers, and the Strikers will get some nice shots off on them. However, the Tengus are now here, and if the Bullfrogs are able to get nice shots off on these Tengus and clean them up, then the Twin Blades will once again have free reign and be able to play. When the Tengus are away, the Twin Blades do play, and they also destroy your economies by sniping both of your Harvesters, and even, I believe, taking down one of the Strikers as well. Twin Blades forced away, forced to be pushed back, and once again, Fordell has poked in, done that bit of damage that he needed, and then gone right back out again. He doesn't necessarily have to do, again, like, super crazy game-winning damage. What happened to the engineer? I don't know if maybe it got cleaned up or if it got picked up by one of the twin blades. Either way, it is no longer on that ridge. That King Oni, he is asking for a Terror Drone to come along and lock him down while the twin blades fly in to finish the job. And, ooh, donating away free units, especially expensive units that are Tier 3, is not a winning strategy for Jeromo. I don't actually know if this King Oni has been spotted by Fordell. Bullfrogs on the south side. Of course, the Twin Frog combo is one of those things that can be very powerful if used correctly. Are there strikers here on the defense? No, but there is Tengus, one of them being fully heroic, and Jeromo doesn't want to commit too far with those Tengus. He even pulls his Harvester preemptively just in case and runs it all the way over to the Mecha Bay, even though he doesn't need to. This one King Oni is still running around the middle of the map. It really, I mean, one Terror Drone just locks it down, holds it in position while the Twin Blades rush in and finish the job. Easy peasy. Might not even need the Terror Drone because this King Oni was already at like half HP, and 3 Twin Blades will be able to have just enough DPS to finish it off. Oh, those last couple of missiles impacting, and now the Bullfrog swinging in, able to push back what Tengus do remain. One does transform. Jeromo trying to escape, trying to save his units, but he's not quite able to make it happen. A second group of Twin Frog going to be on the right side, closing in and sniping it down. Potentially a Harvester. Can they get a second volley of missiles off? If they can, that Harvester is for sure dead. It dies anyways as the units from our Empire Jeromo just not enough to finish things off. Not enough to actually protect against that Harvester, as some of the Bullfrogs being picked up here by the Twin Blades being carried away to safety, and Jeromo cannot catch an economic break. He cannot find any safe breathing ground. However, in the north, this Harvester has been going on for quite some while without disruption. I mean, this refinery has certainly paid for itself, harvesting almost half of the total income from that mine. Oh, actually, those strikers. Wow, Fordell just manages to escape with hardly any HP on his units, but he manages to escape nonetheless. More Bullfrogs and Twin Blades meeting up in the south. If the Twin Blades want, they can always head across the map, get those free repairs at the Crusher Crane, and be back up to full HP in no time. And actually, Fordell has been consistently mining from so many of these refineries for so long that he's almost going to be depleted. I mean, he's only got about 20,000 credits to his name. Well, I guess 25,000 credits approximately left in those 3 refineries. So if this game goes on for too much longer, he may find himself at a disadvantage just because the mining for Jeromo has been disrupted so much. Hello, Thunder. The mining has been disrupted so much that it actually is, in a weird way, going to kind of benefit Jeromo in, like, the very long run. Again, if it comes down to that. But you can do a lot with 20,000 credits of units that Fordell can still harvest, and he may even be banking a little bit of money on top of that. Ooh, this one striker. Will it actually go down? Jeromo manages to escape. Just barely. No flak troopers on the high ground. That one striker, he is running for his life as the Twin Frog combo is following up even more. And it occurs to me that the storm going on outside may actually cause my power to go out. And yes, the striker will actually go down. Poor Jeromo not actually able to keep that alive. Desolator airstrike comes in, drops the toxins, and even kills the Harvester, getting a bit of cash back there for Fordell as he is able to just make use of that cash bounty support power. So yeah, if the Thunder or Lightning, well, if the Lightning takes down my power, or if the Storm takes down my power is probably more accurate, then I guess this stream will end. The recording won't, the local recording won't, but for all of you guys currently watching live on Twitch, if my stream suddenly dies, then my power probably went out, and I no longer have an internet connection. But I will finish this game out casting because I'll have the local recording regardless. These Tengus need to be careful, but again, Fordell making good use of those twin blades. That's the sort of stuff that we like to see. He darts in, unloads the missiles, the heaviest damage dealing part of this army comp, and then just gets on out of there. Again, magnetic singularity, not something we actually see very often. Doesn't really lock anything down in this particular case. But now the army is completely out of position. All of the strikers are on the wrong section of the map. They're chasing yet another MCV. That's how far ahead Fordell has been economically in this game. He's been able to produce 2 additional MCVs after losing his first one. And the Twin Blades, they're going for the kill. And of course, this one striker is not going to be enough to kill off all of these Twin Blades. There's the split command, slamming that X button and making his Twin Blades go to the far corners. Jeromo is in a position where he pretty much has to win the game right here, right now. And if it comes down to a base trade scenario, I would put my money more on Fordell just because he's a bit more spread out. However, they both have fast and, well, pretty hard-hitting air units. Fordell, I think, is just a little bit more spread out and has a few more, well, not a few more structure. He definitely has like 3 times the structures that Jeromo has at this point. If it comes down to an elimination race between these two, unless the MCV is able to just survive against all odds, Jeromo might be out of this game due to elimination. Striker's going to be getting some fantastic damage done. The Tengu's doing their part as well, as every single Twin Blade gets absolutely destroyed. The Wave Force Artillery is gone, which means the King Oni is the primary source of ground-based DPS for this army. The Twin Blades not going to be dealing with the refinery in the north. This engineer may be called on to do that, but the Harvester can kill that engineer easy peasy, no problem. Wave Force Artillery is gone, but the King Oni starting to do that critical DPS, starting to eat away at the War Factory as the airfields have already been cleaned up. They have been cleaned, well, annihilated as the MCV rolls onto the scene. And I guess that engineer ended up going down to the Harvester anyways, as Fordell loses yet another production facility. For the second time, his War Factory does go down in this game. Bullfrogs being pulled south. The Twin Blades are on the repair command as they stand above this Crusher Crane waiting for the inevitable next assault. Striker is going to be coming in, but he has to be so careful. Crashing down onto the wall is not exactly the big win that Jeromo needs. In this case, even if he takes down this base, even if he eliminates it, he still won't have eliminated all of the structures of Fordell. He needs to eliminate the refinery in the north, and this refinery here also. And I think the MCV, yeah, the MCV died over here, so he doesn't have to worry about that. And this one structure and the MCV are the only thing that stand in the way of elimination for Jeromo. Oh, the MCV gets targeted down. A nice move there, a clutch moment for Fordell, and he just decides, yes, I am going to rush in there. I'm going to commit to it. And unfortunately for Fordell, he committed a bit too far, went, a bit further than he needed to, and ended up just taking a huge amount of DPS from those strikers. Some of those strikers heroic because they've killed so much. 2 of them heroic, 1 of them elite, waiting for that heroic promotion. And the barracks is actually going to be heading out. I guess it's not going to be the engineer for the repair of the MCV. It's instead going to be the engineer for the capture, most likely, of that oil derrick. I'm not sure what else he would really be doing with that racks, unless he really wanted to hide it. However, this is the smart insurance policy of a base trading Empire player. Buildings all over the map. It's not necessarily always about having high HP structures. Sometimes it's just about making your opponent run from corner to corner and maximize the amount of time that it takes them to actually get to those structures to eliminate them, as Jeromo is in that full base trade mode. 1 of the strikers goes down, a second is eliminated, the third is going to be getting trapped as well. These bullfrogs have just not enough DPS to take it down before it transforms, but now the Tesla coil will finish it off, so not really anything gained or lost there, as the striker was going to die in both scenarios. Fully heroic King Oni, and this power plant has not been scouted by Jeromo. By Fordell. He might have got the idea that there was a power plant somewhere, but he won't actually know. And actually, this engineer, I mean, that's nice, but you spent 500 credits, and you're not going to get that enough. You're not going to get enough cash back until past like the 1 minute mark for that engineer to actually be worth it, as Jeromo has been defeated. He doesn't have the units or the structures necessary to contend with this game from Fordell. And Fordell takes the dangerous 3-0 lead against Jeromo. He's looking like a back-to-back champion, probably more than a two-time champion, but Fordell is playing very strong. The random game is good. And Fordell showing why he is a powerhouse of a player. Jeromo, on the other hand, maybe still a bit rusty in comparison to his peak form in, early to mid 2014. Somewhere around there, he was crushing quite a bit more. However, this is not over. Jeromo can mount the reverse all kill, the 4-3. 4 games in a row is what Jeromo is going to need to do. Can he do it? It starts with this next match. And game 4 takes us to Infinity Isle. Spawning in the left position, our purple Empire player, we have Fordell. I know, these guys keep switching colors. And on the right side, if you know the minimap, then you're a little bit confused right now, but our yellow allied hope, this is Mates Jeromo. He is down 0-3 in this best of 7. And he is not happy that the scoreboard did not update properly and save. So I made all of the changes that I needed to, but they didn't update. Taken care of now. The jankiness of live broadcasting shows through once again. The dog coming in for Jeromo. He's going to be hedging his bets with the OP alliedness. He's probably going to be looking to exploit cryocopters, cryo shot, cryo blast, cryo getting super hard as he can, because that is what people complain about. So that is probably what is good. Now, if he can get himself a bit of a turtle going on, if he can survive up to that tier 2 status, and I don't know how good his cryocopter control is, but he may be able to just absolutely destroy Fordell. Now, the advantage is for Fordell that I imagine, by the way, both of these guys chose random, so they didn't go into this game choosing their factions. They didn't actually know what matchup it was going to be. But I feel like the advantage with Fordell is that he plays random probably more often than Jeromo does, and so his off race might be better. His Empire is probably better than Jeromo's allies, but Jeromo may have been hoping, like, all right, maybe if I get Empire and my opponent gets something else, then I'll kind of have the advantage because I'll be random but still getting my strongest faction. It's match point. It's game 4. If Jeromo loses this, he's out of the tournament. He takes second place. He walks home with $15 instead of the $30 for first place. So he wants to really take this home, solidify his name as a champion in Red Alert 3. He's taking a risk. In this case, I don't know if it paid off. I don't know how good he is with allies. We shall see. Dojo being established on Jeromo's side of the map. Fordell is going to be looking to take that oil derrick back from Jeromo. Tengu's going to be coming in. This is 5 Tengus, and all right, well, we're not actually seeing fantastic control from Jeromo. It was good enough to save 1 Apollo. It just was not good. That Apollo needs to turn around. He does not need to be the first one to engage. He gets trashed anyways. Cryocopter goes down. 2 Apollos eliminated as well, and 5 Tengus are still here. I think literally no units were killed. Did Fordell literally lose 0 units? Because that is absolutely telling the story of that game, as Fordell takes a 4-0 and the GG to become the For the Win number 30 champion. Back-to-back For the Win champs. Congratulations to Fordell. I need to see, though. Okay. So, Jeromo did kill 2 enemy units. Fordell did not have a perfect game. However, eliminating the cryocopter and those 2 Apollos was so important for Fordell. Jeromo not able to survive. Our Empire Hope will fall. Although in this game, I guess Fordell was the Empire Hope. But I guess, hey, that means allies lost a finals. If you wanna put it that way. If you want to talk it that way, that doesn't make any sense. Anyways, that will be doing it for this series, for this game. Thank you all very much for watching. And, of course, congratulations to both of these guys for making it this far. That's For the Win, number 30 wrapped. This is Sybert signing out.